Hi, my name is Everett Glenn, and I am a junior here at CSD Fremont.
Hi, my name is Blair Rasmus. I'm a senior here at CSD Fremont. Everett and I will be your narrators.
We hope you enjoy this program. Now you will meet 6 different deaf people. They have all been affected by smoking. Some of them used to be smokers and quit. Some of them had family members who smoked, and one of them is still a smoker.
These 6 people are going to share their stories about how smoking has affected their lives. This woman's father struggled for years with smoking. These 2 older women will look back on their lives when they were younger and how they started to smoke and struggled to quit. This man is still a smoker and is struggling to quit. This woman was a smoker for many, many years and became very ill. After surgery, she finally quit smoking, but now she must use an oxygen tank every day. This young woman just recently quit smoking.
How did they start smoking?
Well, I was around 14 years old when I started. I was introduced to it by my hearing friends who said, "Come on, there's nothing to it, you'll like it." My parents smoked. It used to make me cough, and I would complain to them that I didn't like the smell. But since they never stopped, I just adjusted to it. Then there was all the advertising, like for Cools, showing the beautiful mountain streams, or kayaking in Mexico, and that lured me into trying it. When I first tried it, I coughed and everybody laughed at me. And after a while, I became good at it. I wasn't a frequent smoker until I was in my late teens. My school at that time allowed smoking among the older students. We would get together and smoke, and it just seemed to become a part of life. It seemed normal. Members of my family smoked, my friends' families. You'd see smoking in restaurants and bars. This was in New York City.
What made me start smoking was peer pressure. I was curious and I wanted to act like a grown-up.
I was around 16 or 17 years old. I was a student at the residential school, and when I came home on the weekends, I would go to our town cemetery and meet my hearing friends there. They'd all bought cigarettes. They were smoking. It looked like fun. I began a routine of joining them for smoking every time I came home on the weekends. This went on for a while. After graduation, I went to Gallaudet. You know, my father never said smoking was bad. He was a smoker himself. He never said it was bad. He used to say alcohol was bad, and I never took a drink. So off I went to Gallaudet, and first time away from home, I was free, completely independent. So I became a full-time smoker.
I first started at school at Gallaudet. There was a murder of a student in my dorm, and I was a little stressed out over that. And I was also curious about smoking, so I started.
Well, I started when I was, how old was I? I think I was 17, between 17 and 18 years old, when I was in high school. You know, I grew up in New York City and went to the deaf school that was there, and I had a lot of friends who were smokers. And when I was younger, 16 or 17, 15, whatever, I used to look up to those older kids who smoked. They would smoke in the restroom at school, in the school restroom. So anytime we had a break between classes, a break between periods, everybody would go into the restrooms and, be talking in there and smoking, and that's where I learned.
Why did they start smoking?
I remember very well the first time I started. I was a senior in high school. I was nearing the age where I could be independent. I was ready to see the world, and I wanted to experience everything. When I first started, it made me cough a lot. It tasted awful and felt gross, but I kept smoking anyway because I wanted to be like everyone else, so I didn't stop.
When I look back on the first time I started, I remember that I was so upset about the murder, and I thought, well, just this once I'll smoke to help me get through it. But sure enough, I got sucked into it. I think it's true what they say. Once you start, you get hooked really fast. And it wasn't like I started instantly smoking a pack a day. It was a slow, gradual increase for me. It was both a habit and an addiction, you know? When classes were over, I would want to smoke.
When I was younger, my family's smoking bothered me. They would just tell me to go away and not bother them about it. Then later, when I became a smoker myself, it gave me a reason to hang out with them. I'd have to ask my dad for a light sometimes. And in a way, it made me feel more connected to him. If we were all in the house doing different things, and I felt like I wanted to join their activity, smoking became a way to do that, by asking for a cigarette or a light. It was definitely about my need to connect with them. I was really looking for a connection. And the way I got that was through smoking. It became the way we interacted. They would invite me to join them for a cigarette. We called it our smoking party.
My father was a very heavy smoker, and you'd think I would smoke because of that, but I don't. There was a lot of secondhand smoke, though. I just never liked it. I was very sensitive to it, almost allergic to it. I just wasn't interested in smoking. My mother had a more powerful influence on me, and she was a non-smoker. When I was in college, well, also in high school too, everybody thought smoking was cool. Someone did hand me a cigarette one time, and I coughed a lot trying it. My peers at Gallaudet were trying different things, pot, cigarettes, and I just didn't like any of it. I didn't like the smell. I guess I'm lucky.
What was it like to quit?
Well, I think after 40 years, I'm an addict. I can't stop. I've tried many, many times to quit, and I just can't. I keep smoking. It's really hard to quit.
Oh yes, it's very hard. It's everywhere. You see people smoking all around. There's advertising. It's really hard to quit nowadays.
Well, I was very addicted to cigarettes. Oh, yeah. I remember every morning I would have my $5 in my pocket ready to go. Even before eating breakfast, I would run to the 7-Eleven around the corner and get my 2 packs of cigarettes and bring them home. And then I'd smoke, eat breakfast, then smoke, then use the bathroom, then smoke. Then I would drive to work, the deaf school, and I'd be smoking all the way into work in the car. I smelled like cigarettes all day while I was teaching my kids. The kids never complained about the smell. Maybe they were just being polite. I do regret that.
Oh, my father was very addicted. The minute he got up and had his coffee, he had to have a cigarette. All day he had to smoke. It's like the whole world had to stop everything, and everything was put on hold so that he could finish his cigarette. It was really sad. Often we had to stop what we were doing to accommodate his smoking. If we were on our way somewhere and he needed cigarettes, we'd have to go out of our way for him. As I look back on it, smoking took center stage in our family.
Well, first of all, there was the cost. The price started going up. I started to think, what's the benefit to me here? I'm spending all this money and it's really not healthy. I could be spending my money on eating better instead of smoking. Another thing was my father finally quit. His doctor had ordered him to quit, and he did it. I wanted to follow his example. Now it was quite a struggle for him to quit. And I went through a period of denial where I thought I was going to be different, that it wouldn't be hard for me to stop. Well, 30 years after he quit, he developed lung cancer. Even though he quit all those years ago, he still got cancer. That really scared me. Before this happened, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I knew I wanted to stop while I was carrying her. And I did it. I remember very clearly the day I found out I was pregnant. I smoked my last cigarette and put it out and said, "That's it, no more." And it worked. I wasn't tempted. I didn't smoke again. My daughter was born, and it wasn't until she was around 2 years old that it became an issue for me again because I was dating someone who smoked. Even though I didn't like the smell, my resistance was wearing down. One day I asked him for one puff, and somehow I was right back where I started. I was more of a part-time smoker, not a heavy smoker. I set myself a rule that I would not smoke at work. I would leave my cigarettes at home. And I can remember that whole time feeling so guilty about it. I knew it was bad. I felt like it was something I had to hide. It just wasn't good for my self-esteem. It wasn't good for my health. So I made the decision to stop, and it's been since February. Yay!
I used to smoke 2 packs a day. I wouldn't always smoke them to the end. Sometimes there'd be a little bit left. Say I was giving someone a ride, I would put out my cigarette early, even though it was a waste. But alone at home, I would smoke my cigarettes all the way to the end. I tried to quit. I went to Kaiser to the stop smoking classes where they told us everything you're supposed to do. I had interpreters and everything, and I just said, that's all baloney. I just ignored it all. I had an x-ray at one point, and they said, you have to have surgery. You have to start wearing the patch. This means you must stop smoking, period. I tried to bargain and said, if I do this or do that, and they said no. They said, if you don't stop now, I should have died a long time ago. I'm surprised that I'm still alive. It's been 8 or 9 years now since I quit, and I feel pretty lucky. I'm very, very happy that I quit.
When they see others smoking now, how do they feel?
Oh, it just makes me sick. And I feel bad for those people. I feel sorry for them. And the worst part is when I see someone toss their cigarette butt on the ground. The attitude, it just really bothers me. After the person goes away, I make sure to stamp out the cigarette. I can't believe that kind of thing happens. And I ask myself, was I like that? It really makes me uncomfortable.
When I see anyone smoking today, I think it's disgusting. I have a very negative reaction when I see people smoking or buying cigarettes or when I have to go through a smoky environment. Very negative reaction.
Oh, I scream at them. When I'm around teenagers, high school kids, I'm not talking about deaf kids, but kids in general that I see smoking when I'm around town. I'll wave my hand in front of my face when I pass by them. I don't care if they feel guilty. I've got an oxygen tank here. I have to walk around with this thing. If anyone's smoking near me, I point to it because it's very dangerous. This thing could explode.
What advice do these people have for us about smoking?
My advice would be, while it really seems cool at the time, look at the consequences. You really suffer. Look at me. I really struggled with quitting. I wish I never took it up in the first place. I wish someone was there to warn me about it. Look at the expense and how the tobacco companies encourage us to keep on smoking. What's the reason for that? It's just not healthy.
I have a daughter. Her father has been a heavy chain smoker for 30 or 35 years. It's been hard for him to quit. I've tried to educate my daughter, who's deaf, and share my experience with her. I want her to know the things I've done in my life. I want her to know what the reality is. I want her to get that information from her mother, not from other people, so I can increase her trust. I can see that she agrees that smoking is bad and it's not healthy. She's tried to help her father quit by throwing away his cigarettes behind his back. He runs around upset looking for them and eventually finds out that she did it. She's just trying to help him, and he knows that. But he's really addicted. I think now she realizes it's a kind of disease. You know, I told her, when you get older and you get to college, you're going to be curious about things. There will be peer pressure. You should know what your choices are. If you're curious about it, that's fine, but look at what it can lead to. You can get addicted. You have a choice, and I suggest you don't try it.
It can cause a lot of damage to your body. Doctors say it can ruin every part of your body. Your eyes, your hair, your eyebrows, inside your nose. Do you know those little hairs inside your nose? Mine all went away. They're slowly starting to grow back. They'd all been destroyed. My mouth is in terrible shape because of it. It can ruin your bladder, your kidneys, your stomach, your esophagus.
You know, sometimes you see how the media really glamorizes it, but I say, even though it looks cool, just stay away. I understand being curious and trying it once, but sticking with it is a different story. But I've seen a lot of my friends feel like they have to smoke in order to get friends, and that's not really true. You don't need to do that.
My advice to young people is just don't smoke, period. I mean, look at me. I've been smoking for 40 years. It's really hard to quit. All of my friends now, none of them smoke. I have to hide it. I don't want people to see me smoking. So I'm always alone with it. I'd rather be alone with it than have them see me. So for your own safety and health, to save the money, to save your friendships, to save your job possibly, there's a lot of reasons not to do it. Just avoid smoking, period. Smoking is bad, period.
We would like to thank these people for sharing their stories with us. They have really helped us to understand how smoking can damage the body and ruin your life. Let's respect them by learning from their stories.
We hope you learned something from this program. Thanks for watching. See you later.